You're listening to Healing Wisdom. I'm your host, Pandora Peoples, and we're going to hear a little LOVE from Carolyn Rogers.
L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary. E is even more than anyone that you adore, and love is all that I can give to you. Love is more than just a game for two. Two in love can make it. Take my heart, but please don't break it. Love was made for me and you.
Today we're speaking with the cast of the Stevens, Sondheim, and Schwartz Broadway Cabaret. Their show is sold out. It's happening this Saturday at the Wellfleet Preservation Hall, and it is a benefit for the Wellfleet Cultural Council. We're also speaking with actor-director Nick Cohen. He is on a tour. He's London-based, and he is performing Life with Oscar, about his real-life experience in Hollywood, living with a two-time Oscar winner and all of the cast of characters that he encountered during his time in Hollywood. That's happening Friday at 7 p.m. at Wellfleet Preservation Hall. There are still tickets left, and they are available online at wellfleetpreservationhall.org, or tickets will be available at the door. First up, we speak with Frankie Campofelice. He is an assistant professor of voice at Berklee College of Music. He's served on the voice faculty at Dean College and Salem State University. Kevin McMahon is a veteran of more than 100 professional productions, and you may have seen him in Stephen Schwartz's international phenomenon Wicked. He was also in Steve Martin's Bright Star and the Tony Award-winning City of Angels. Carolyn Rogers is a singer of Broadway tunes and American standards. She's performed in Connecticut and throughout Boston. We're also going to be speaking with Andy Lantz, who is a Boston-based pianist. He's had a 15-year residence at Club Cafe's Napoleon Room. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, so first off, can you tell us a bit about the work of the Wellfleet Cultural Council?
Thanks, Pandora. We are an organization that is based out of the Massachusetts Cultural Council. They have local cultural councils in all the towns throughout the state. We receive funds from the state and from the town, and we raise funds on our own to provide grants to community events and for individuals to put on programs that provide cultural enrichment to everybody in Wellfleet. So, we do a lot of work to raise those funds and a lot of work in terms of the process of encouraging people to create these programs and apply for grants, and then the granting process. So we have 11 people currently in town working on the council, and we do a lot of good work, I think.
Yeah, and can you give us an example of who can apply and what you're looking for?
Any individual can apply. Privates and nonprofits can apply. It's really quite open. The nice thing, it's more of a grassroots opportunity. So organizations and individuals who don't have access to like a larger organization or nonprofit would have with what they call like a 501c3 legal status that can access a lot of other monies in the granting system. We're a place for a very, it's a fair, as grants go, it's a fairly simple process to apply. The state, I think, has made it easy. So it's an opportunity for folks to who wouldn't otherwise perhaps be able to fund something on their own. Taking some very, very interesting artists and musicians and academics and scientists, and like especially here, like in aquaculture and biology and ecology.
If you look around Wellfleet and some of the events that are happening all across the town, a great majority of them are sponsored by the Cultural Council, and we do a lot of good work in the community. And we enable, as Carolyn said, people who don't have access to larger granting pools, funds. And so what we've been trying to do as a Cultural Council is to raise more money, so our grants that we do award are more significant. Because in the past we only had a very small granting pool, so we could only award small grants. $200, $500, maybe the max was $1,000. Now that we're raising more money through a bunch of different events and fundraising opportunities, we hope to raise those granting awards to something that will actually make a huge impact to the artist or the event or the organization that's going to be doing the project.
I remember sky, it was blue as ink, or at least I think. I remember sky, I remember snow, soft as feathers, sharp as thumbtacks, coming down like lint, and it made you squint when the wind would blow, and ice like vinyl on the streets, cold as silver, white as sheets, rain like strings and changing things like leaves. I remember leaves, green as spearmint, crisp as paper. I remember trees, bare as coat racks, spread like broken umbrellas, and parks and bridges, ponds and zoos, ruddy faces, muddy shoes, light and noise and bees and boys and days.
How did you dream up this particular event, the Stevens, Sondheim, and Schwartz Broadway Cabaret?
Well, basically, this came from a member of our committee suggested we were doing all kinds of events like bake sales and raffles and things. And someone in our committee says, Carolyn, Kevin, you have really great voices. Why don't you put on a show? So we got our help from Frankie and from Andy and decided to put this show together. It was an idea of mine that the concept. Stephen Schwartz and Stephen Sondheim are two of my favorite composers, and having the same first name certainly created a hook for us to create a review around it. And so Frankie and Andy are big stars over in Provincetown and in Boston. They have ongoing gigs, and they're both fabulous musicians and singers. And they're adding a lot of different variety to Carolyn and I. So we've got a nice mix of three different vocalists, and Andy is an expert musical director and pianist.
Yes, Andy. So can you talk about your work as a musical director and what excites you about this particular production?
Sure. When Kevin and Carolyn came to Frankie and me about this, I was really excited because in the area of musical theater, Sondheim is probably my number one, and I can't get enough of his music. It's really challenging, but the challenge pays off. There are nuances in shared emotions that he's able to mine that I think few other composers in musical theater are able to do. I wasn't as familiar with the deep catalog of Stephen Schwartz, but as Frankie knows, as somebody that only just saw the Wicked stage version a few months ago for the first time, I am rapidly becoming a huge Schwartz fan. And so I jumped at the opportunity to do this, especially having worked, very closely with Frankie for a number of years, having met Carolyn, who is one of Frankie's voice students, and then having heard Kevin and Carolyn sing at the Provincetown UU Church for the Sundays at 5 series. And the rehearsals that we've had so far have been really thrilling to hear the close harmonies of these voices together, as well as each of them doing some real knockout individual numbers, has been so gratifying.
So, Frankie, were you familiar with these songs?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think that Stephen Sondheim and Stephen Schwartz are two of my favorite composers. I know their catalog, back and forth. But what's funny is, the only thing they really have in common, aside from musical theater, is their names. You really can't put two entirely different composers together. They just have completely different sounds in regard to their harmonics and their chord progressions, and their lyrics are so different. And I really think that with this show, we are showcasing the best of the best. I've been in a Sondheim show. I've been in a Schwartz show. Sung plenty of their repertoire, but there's even a few songs in this show that I didn't know, which are kind of hidden little gems that I'm super excited for our audiences to hear for the first time.
My day can be a royal bore. It leaves me colder than a basement floor. The only moment I keep waiting for is when the day will be through. I never notice if it's dark or clear. What people say to me I hardly hear. The passing hours are an endless year, until at last I'm alone with you. For every night at 7, you come by as fresh as clover, and I begin to sigh all over again. Every night at 7, you come by like May returning, and me, oh my, starting yearning again. You seem to bring far away.
Is it a challenge to pivot between two very different kinds of songs or styles? Does it feel like you're doing acrobatics a little bit?
Sometimes, yes. I mean, with Sondheim, the most challenging thing, definitely, I think, is the lyrics, but Stephen Schwartz also sort of has his own challenges as well. I don't want to give anything away, but there is a medley of a Sondheim song and a Stephen Schwartz song that I'm doing, and it is interesting to kind of go from one to the other. And even though they are both musically very, very different songs, their message and their narrative is very, very similar and cohesive, which is very cool.
There is one thing that they do have in common that is not always the case with musical theater. They are both composers and lyricists. And if you look around in the history of musical theater, I would guess the vast majority of composers and lyricists don't work that way. They're two different people usually. So it takes a certain elevated kind of person that has gifts both musically and lyrically. And these two have just impeccable reputations when it comes to being able to do that. When you had Cole Porter, Irving Berlin, it's really hard to think of a lot of others, given how many there are, right? So this gives you these songs have such a composer/lyricist vision that they are able to execute on their own, and that allows them to go really, really deep.
And we are doing some, we like to call them deep cuts from these composers' catalogs. We're doing some of the greatest hits too, but people shouldn't come to expect to hear everything they've already heard before. You're going to hear some new material. We even found a song from a show that Stephen Sondheim contributed just one song to as a favor to his friend Mary Rogers. And it's not performed very often.
Thank you very much, dear. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Today we're joined by actor-director Nick Cohen, who started out at the Gate Theatre with the Clod Ensemble at the Battersea Arts Centre and as an understudy on Tim Supple's Comedy of Errors at the Royal Shakespeare Company. He was literary manager for David Farr, an assistant director at the Royal Shakespeare Company, and a staff director at the National Theatre. He was the founder, artistic director of Strange Fish Theatre before moving into film and TV, where he trained at the BBC Drama Directors Academy and directed episodes of Eastenders and Doctors, as well as feature films including Beginner's Luck, The Reeds, and more recently, London Unplugged. He's been in a number of short films and not-for-profit projects with the Refugee Council and Migrant Resource Center. Nick Cohen is the force behind Life with Oscar, and he'll be at the Wellfleet Preservation Hall this Friday at 7 p.m. with his show. Tickets are available online at wellfleetpreservationhall.org. Welcome, Nick. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me, Pandora.
So in this show, you play 29 characters, all real people who you met in Hollywood.
Yes, I play a lot of different characters in the show. Every single one of them is based on a real person, although fact is stranger than fiction. And some of those characters, indeed most of those characters, are kind of larger than life, often monstrous, grotesque, bizarre, wacky characters. Obviously, I've changed the names to avoid getting sued, but I always wonder, it's always in the back of my mind, I wonder what I would do if one of those characters actually turned up at the show. I always have this sort of idea of what would I do if I was looking out into the audience and I saw the person that I'm actually playing on stage.
And what do you think that you would feel?
Well, for quite a few of them, it would be quite satisfying because, in a way, they are quite predatory characters. They're characters that probably could do with seeing a reflection of their behavior because, like a lot of powerful people, they're mostly surrounded by sycophants. So they're probably not fully aware of the damage they're doing in Hollywood. So on that level, it would be satisfying, but it would probably be quite terrifying because they'd probably be with some sort of entourage of lawyers and bodyguards, and it could end very badly.
Right. And narcissists have a way of projecting everything and taking no responsibility and not being able to reflect on their own behavior. So it might be hard to penetrate their ego. Right.
You're probably right. They'd probably just come out of it feeling somehow mythically, even more bigger and more powerful than they were before.
What brought you to Tinseltown in the first place?
Well, I had an offer that is the kind of offer you can't refuse. I had a family friend say that he was on the Academy Award panel. I had this family friend say that not only was he on the Academy Award panel because he'd won 2 Academy Awards himself, but he could help anything that I did get nominated. And he told me that he in fact knew all the tricks and the back doors to get it to win if I did something there. And he threw in that he also had this apartment on Sunset, just off Sunset and Shoreham, this lovely Art Deco apartment, which he was going to need somebody to look after because he was going to spend an extended period of time in Mexico where his backer lives. So basically I got this offer, like, come and have this amazing apartment, and if you make something, I'll get you an Oscar as well.
What do you hope audiences will take away from the show?
I think it's a lot about redefining success, and it's an opportunity for everybody through the prism of the Oscars, which are the most extreme form of recognition, to think, well, what does success to me really look like? Does it have to be an award? Does it have to be money? We only get this one life. Is that what it's all about? And I think part of it is that I shine a light on how empty some of those other forms of success really are for the people who've achieved those things, but maybe they haven't got, it's quite hollow. So hopefully, I mean, we do a game at the start of the show where I get people to decide what Oscar they actually deserve. And that could be anything from like most compassionate family member to best amateur miniature cutlery designer. It could be anything. I've heard all kinds of crazy and wonderful things that people think of in categories that really should exist, but don't.
I'd love for you to share a few of the characters from Life with Oscar.
I mean, there was one character, he's quite significant in the show. He was a very sketchy producer, quite powerful producer, doing some big stuff, who'd actually been CEO of some big studios over there. In the show, I call him Jack Schwartz. Of course, that's not my real name, but if I told you that, I'd have to have you killed. And Jack is one of these guys, he's very relaxed, and he just would offer you anything you wanted, just as long as it got him something that he wanted. And he'd think about it for about 2 seconds. And then if need be, he would totally screw you and your investors and your family and your family's family and everybody you ever met. And he liked to say, that that's not something that he's proud of. He often said this phrase, which is that, listen, I'm not proud of myself. My mom's not proud of me. It just is the way it is. That's Jack.
Interesting. Yeah, eerie and really good voice.
Why, thank you, Pandora.
Yeah.
I think you've got a delightful voice yourself, I must say.
Can you give us one more and then we'll remind them how to get their tickets?
Sure. I mean, the other probably main character in the show is the guy who made me this incredible offer, who said, well, he would get me an Oscar. He was on the Academy panel, and that he would also let me stay indefinitely in his apartment, this amazing Art Deco apartment where his 2 Oscars were housed for these films that he did with Orson Welles. And he's actually a Jewish guy from North London. So when he's one of these characters, he's just terribly enthusiastic about everything, and everything is fantastic, and everything's going to work out amazingly. And it really doesn't matter what the reality is. Everything is just wonderful the whole time. And it partly comes from coming, far away from all your family and boring England and everything like that, and just making sure that everything sounds glamorous and fun, even if it's absolutely disgusting in reality.
Interesting. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the show, and tickets are available at the wellfleetpreservationhall.org. It's been a pleasure. Actor, director Nick Cohen, thank you for speaking with us today. Any final word? Maybe one of your characters can beckon folks.
This is one of those events where if you weren't there, then it's going to be really embarrassing when you talk to other people that were there. That's the kind of thing he'd say.
That's funny. Yeah. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Pandora. Pleasure talking to you.
Tickets for Life with Oscar are available at wellfleetpreservationhall.org. We're going to hear a little Carolyn Rogers On the Way Out with There Won't Be Any Trumpets.
Those smug little men with their smug little schemes, they forgot one thing. The play isn't over by a long shot yet. There are heroes in the world, princes and heroes in the world, and one of them will save us. Wait and see. Wait and see. There won't be trumpets or bolts of fire to say he's coming. No Roman candles, no angels' choir, no sound of distant drumming. He may not be the cavalier, tall and graceful, fair and strong. Doesn't matter, just as long as he comes along. But not with trumpets or lightning flashing or shining armor. He may be daring, he may be dashing, or maybe he's a farmer. We can wait. What's another day? He has lots of hills to climb, and a hero doesn't come till the nick of time. Don't look for trumpets or whistles tooting to guarantee him. There won't be trumpets, but sure as shooting, you'll know him when you see him. Don't know when, don't know where, and I can't even say that I care. All I know is the minute you turn and he's suddenly there. You won't need trumpets. There are no trumpets. Who needs trumpets?
You've been listening to Healing Wisdom. All of our shows are podcast on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts.